Jamie, you talked today about turning and facing God and stopping running. Practically, what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're bouncing off Jonah as a analogy here for our own spiritual lives, because for Jonah to stop running and turn took the belly of a whale, and we'll talk about that a bit next week. But you know, for us, what does it mean then in our circumstances when I talk about us running from God to stop running and begin turning? And what I would do is take us back to last week and the four things, the examples we looked at on how we tend to run from God: through behavioral sin patterns, through avoiding intimacy, relational intimacy with Him, through hearing a clear call from Him in our spirit, that still small voice, and saying no, and then through withdrawing from fellowship, just saying I'm taking my ball and going home and not going to be with other believers. And if you think of those four areas, then what you realize is that each one of those has very practical visuals, if not understandings, of what it might mean to stop. So with number one, behavioral sin patterns, for me, the story I told today about my freshman year of college, I just stop with all the sinful shenanigans that I was involved with during my freshman year of college. And to get right with God, it took stopping that and repenting. And until I was willing to give some of those up, I wasn't going to have the kind of restored fellowship with God that I was looking for. And now in my life, I tend to wrestle more with relational intimacy. So on the days that I'm running from God, by avoiding relational intimacy with Him, I need to stop. And I need to pause in my spirit and say, you know what, I'm going to open my heart and my mind to Him. I'm going to slow down, get in His presence, have that proverbial quiet time, and go into the tunnel of chaos of intimacy with Him. Or example would be that clear call that you receive from Him. Stopping means hearing the call and stop saying no and say yes, and doing what He asks us to do. And then obviously withdrawing from fellowship means that you stop being an island and you start by engaging God through engaging others. And so those are just four examples of what it might mean when we talk about stopping and to begin turning. And then next week we're going to talk a lot more about what the process is of turning and running to God.
Thank you, Jamie.